The little man you see there is Henry. He knows all the answers. He knows all the people. See what I mean? There's nothing Henry likes quite so much as being first with any bit of news he gets wind of. All he needs is a good listener.
Hello, Paul. Hello. Everything okay?
Yeah, about you, Henry.
I manage.
Good.
Any fish there?
Hello. What's new today, Henry? You always
Well, I take my little walk along the canal each morning, Paul.
and listen to gossip, eh?
Well, I have a little talk. Pass the time away. Sometimes I have fun, Paul. Yeah, lots of fun and all for nothing. You hear? For nothing. For instance, yesterday I had a good laugh. I suppose you heard about Gene Morgan.
No.
No? Well, I'll tell you about him. Well, you know Gene. He married Edward Pasquier's oldest girl. There isn't a better like barge captain in Strasbourg. But that barge of his, you know, it's too bad a smart young fella like him couldn't have something a little more up to date. Anyway, I was over to the scarf factory yesterday. Kind of on business, and who should I run into but Gene? So we started to look around the place together. Oh, it's a great place they got over there. They've been building and repairing barges for years. They do nice work. But what Gene and I wanted to see was those new prefabricated barges they're starting making. They were designed by French engineers before the war. And the way they're made, why, from the United States, we get all those steel sheets that have been cut up into pieces just the right size to make a barge. We buy them ready-made through this Marshall plant thing. Then we take them and put them together. They build the barge by sections. One section here, one section there, and another section there. And before you know it, you got a brand new barge. Then, a few minutes more, and it's in the water. Well, oh, yes. So Gene calls in at the controller's office to get his orders, and he finds he's due to leave for Koblenz that night in his old barge to get a load of coal. Well, Gene asked Mr. Muller, the controller, who he's known for 20 years, how about that new barge he's been down on the list for so long. But Mr. Muller tells him there's still lots ahead of him. Then he says to Gene, kind of casual, how'd you like to look over the new barge, the Ambrose Paré? Well, Gene says, all right. Kind of glum. He was pretty disappointed. He's been waiting so long, so he leaves. But I noticed Mr. Muller had a look on his face like something was up when he went back into his office. Muller always had a great sense of humor, although he doesn't look it. I was wondering what he was up to. So later I just happened to pass Gene's barge.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you suppose I saw? Muller and Gene's wife talking. Now, Muller was very much in earnest about it. They were talking so loud, Paul, that I couldn't help hearing what they were saying.
Well,
I assure you, Paul, that I couldn't help hearing them.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling her that it was Gene's turn to be assigned to a new American barge, the Ambrose Paré. Well, Gene's wife was just tickled to death. So Muller tells her to get all their stuff packed and ready to move before Gene gets home. And not to let on to Gene what it's about, because he wants the whole thing to be a surprise for Gene on his, which it so happens is that same day. Well, Gene's wife, she went right along with the plan. I told Mr. Muller I'd better sort of stick with Gene to see that he didn't come back to the barge before everything was ready. And he agreed. Then I let out. Gene was just looking over the Ambrose Parade when I got there. So I joined up with him and the engineer. Oh, nice fella he was. He told us how we lost 2,000 barges during the war. 2,000, can you imagine? If it wasn't for these new ones from America, we'd be in a bad way right now. They're nice barges, those American crafts. But take the hatch covers, the easy way they handle. And the electric winch makes it so much handier to take the anchor up and let it down. And the living quarters, oh, neat, pretty, don't say a word. Then we went down to the engine room for a look at the new diesel engine. That barge has got lots of little improvements. Like you enter the wheelhouse right from the engine room. A thing like that makes so much difference to the captain. Then there's the modern equipment connecting the wheelhouse and the engine room. All the signal lights on the barge are controlled from one box. But anyway, to get back to Gene, he got a great kick when the engineer told him to take the wheel for a short run. You should have seen the way he took over. That barge is practically as long as the canal is wide, but he turned it around as handy as if he had the whole Atlantic Ocean to move about in. Gene's a good pilot.
True.
And if I say so, you can believe me, Bo, because I know. Now, he handled that barge like he'd been running it for years. The way he maneuvered that tub through all that traffic, marvelous. Just as smooth and easy. Gene thanked Mr. Muller and made a date to see him about his chances of getting a new barge after he gets back from Koblenz. Well,
That must have been funny.
When I think of the way Gene felt, I laugh. After all, he wasn't going to Koblenz at all. Well, no sooner had Gene started out for his barge than Mr. Muller and me, we drove over to watch the fun from the sidelines. Well, Mr. Muller had it all fixed up with Gene's wife. She told Gene with a straight face their barge was ordered to dry dock. They were to have all their things packed and moved that afternoon. They'd have to go to a hotel. Well, you should have seen him. You know Gene, he never gets mad right out. He just goes into a slow burn. But was he ever sizzling? Well, what could he do, though? So Gene got the Ambrose Parade for his birthday. A nice present, don't you think so, old man?
Not bad.
Well, that's what he said. Was he happy? I was too, and had a good laugh.
Yeah.
And believe me or not, Paul, Gene deserved all of it.
Yes, he does. Yeah, sure.
He's a nice fella. Yeah. Well, Paul, I gotta be going now, old boy.
Yep.
Good fishing, Paul.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
So long, so long.
Today, the barge fleet of France, returning to its pre-war size, is playing its full part in Europe's post-war recovery effort, hauling raw materials for French industries. With each new barge added to the fleet, France's slowly recovering economy is just that much the stronger. And as France grows in strength, bit by bit, so too will grow all of Western Europe, always a little stronger in the ways of peace, economic security, and freedom.
Well, that's a real head scratcher. So the title I have for that is Histoire de Bonnie Sonora, but I don't think that's what that is. It looks like it's a film about the Marshall Plan, and specifically how to get France's barges back up to pre-World War II so that they can continue commerce. And so chances are it was originally made for the French people by maybe the U.S. government. And then they translated it and dubbed it to English. I really don't know. I have no idea. And this is what happens sometimes is I get a film in a collection, and we just, when we digitize it and we go with the title that's on the can, unless we see a title that's on the film. And this film didn't really have a title. I didn't see one. So this is where we do detective work, and we go to WorldCat and we type in Marshall Plan, French barges 16 millimeter, and see what pops up. And sometimes we're lucky and we can find something, and sometimes, who knows? I guess the next thing I would do is actually try to find the film, because this was digitized by an intern of mine, is find the film and see in the leader, is something written there. But I don't know. It's a mystery, and I hadn't seen it before, and it was a premiere. This next film I have seen before and have shown many times, and this was made by North Carolina's own educational filmmaker, Walter J. Klein, and his company that was based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so this features potentially some people. It might have been filmed in Charlotte. The other thing to look for with Walter J. Klein films are who sponsored it. Who did they get to sponsor it? So it will show up usually in the credits. So here's Ricky Raccoon Shows the Way.
Well, Jackie, what do you think of this nice new house? Would you like to live here?
Sure, Dad. Say, where are all the kids?
They're probably playing down by the schoolyard. It's only a short distance away from here. If you're very careful, you can drive your bike or walk to school from here.
Swell, I'm going right now.
Hold it, young man. You'd better stick around here until your father and I have a chance to teach you a few things about walking safety and bicycle safety. We don't want you hurt.
Oh, Mom, nothing's gonna happen to me. What's so different about this neighborhood?
What's that? The animal comes with the house?
Afraid so? Probably strayed from a circus, but he's terrific with kids, and he'll help Jackie get around safely.
You're new.
Not really. I've been around for about 8 years now. I'm Jackie.
I'm Ricky Raccoon.
Oh, I thought you were a teddy bear who swallowed too many vitamins.
So, you want to find the other children? Well, you could follow the yellow brick road, but that will lead to another movie. To get to the school, we have to cross that street.
Great, let's go.
Jackie, stop.
Your mother's right. Always cross the street in marked crosswalks or at street corners only.
And when you get to that spot, walk only with the traffic signal or at the direction of a police officer or school patrol. Now, there's no light here, but I see there is a police officer.
Oh, no, it's that crazy bear.
That's raccoon, kid, with 2 C's and 2 O's. And while you're waiting, always stand on the curb, not in the street. Before leaving the curb, be sure the way is clear. Stop, look both ways, watch for turning cars.
When you do start across, walk fast, but don't run. Stay alert for cars, which may suddenly turn into the street. Watch how you walk if the pavement's wet or uneven.
Say, what do I do if it's raining? A little guy like me might not see where he's going and run into a wild bear or something.
How many times I gotta tell you, fella? I'm a raccoon with 2 C's and 2 O's. If you carry an umbrella, do so in such a way as to keep a clear view, like this. Stay alert, watch out for traffic.
Well, what if I'm walking across the street and I suddenly see my old pal Larry? I might stop to wave a call to him so we can play ball or eat lunch together.
No, son, that's not the way to do it. Always walk directly across the street. Don't waste time talking or waving or anything else that'll slow you down. Wait till you're completely across and on the curb.
Got another problem, Mom. Suppose this bear over here and I are playing ball, and the bear hits a good one into the street.
That's raccoon, kid. Raccoon, bear, bear, raccoon. You think you got it?
Yeah.
That's especially dangerous, Jackie. The National Safety Council says you should stay out of streets or roadways while you're playing. Only after you've made sure it's safe should you go into the street after balls, pets, or anything else. Best thing is to play away from the street.
Right now, Jackie, you're with your family, who are always concerned about you. But be especially careful when you're walking with a group, just as you would by yourself. Watch out for your safety. Don't depend on others. Stop. Here's a driveway. Always watch for cars backing out.
Another intersection, but this one's different. There's a traffic light.
That's right, son. You know, the red at the top means stop, green for go at the bottom when it's safe. Yellow is a warning. It's that way for cars and for us walkers.
Here's a special danger. At many intersections, cars may keep moving past a red light after stopping if they are turning to the right. That means that you, the pedestrian, have to take even greater care. The car should stop for you, but look out. Little people are sometimes hard to see.
Jackie, why are you bent over like that? Does your back hurt?
No, Mom, it's that sign. It says stoop. I'm stooping.
No, silly, not stoop. Stop. It's very important to know your street signs, their shapes and meaning. A red sign means stop or not to do something, like not entering a street. A yellow sign is a warning. Black letters on white signs give us information, like how fast a car can drive. Orange lets us know about road work ahead. Service signs, like those telling us hospitals and telephones are ahead, are blue. Recreation and scenic areas have brown signs.
Watch out! Watch out! That's what the diamond-shaped sign says to us. It's a warning, like for a bridge out.
A sign shaped like this, rectangular, gives us traffic information. This kind of rectangular sign contains information on where to go. And do you know what a circle sign tells us?
A train bear is coming?
Nope. A bear on a train, maybe. Railroad crossing signs are circles.
My mummy always said I was a raccoon with one N.
A school sign is five-sided. It lets you know there's a school up ahead. And here we are, Jackie.
At last. But what happens when I go back home? And it's dark.
The best clothes to wear at night are ones that are white. Or try to carry something white, light in color, or something that reflects light. Or carry a flashlight so people driving cars will see.
And when you cross the street, cross where there are street lights so you and the car drivers can see each other.
Day or night, if you come upon an area where there is no sidewalk, walk on the left side of the road. Walk on the left side.
Don't worry. This looks like a real friendly neighborhood. I could get a ride home with someone. Did I say the wrong thing?
Yep. Jackie, there are a lot of lonely people who sometimes look for young people like you to be their friend. But some of these people may not be nice. They may even try to hurt children. So you must never accept a ride from anyone unless we've already said it's okay. Even if he or she offers you candy or says your father or mother said you should ride with them.
No thanks.
Well, you look kind of tired. Why don't you get in?
No thanks.
Even if they say you said it was okay?
You know we wouldn't ask anyone to pick you up without telling you first. You remember that? We'll remember that.
Of course, you could drive your bicycle home, Jackie.
What
There
bicycle?
are no bicycles.
Those bicycles.
Oh, great! Let's go!
Have you checked over your bike, Jackie?
Just barely, Mr. Bear.
Well, first get a bike that fits you. Be sure you have your bike in good shape, thoroughly and regularly checked, especially the brakes. Have a horn or a bell, a basket to carry small things, a light on the front and rear, and reflectors all around. Okay?
Okay.
You should have your parents' permission before you drive your bike in the street. When you do, Jackie, be sure to obey all the traffic signs, signals, and markings.
Gee, you'd think I was driving a car. Lots of things to think about.
That's right. Someday you probably will drive a car, Jackie. Driving a bike the right way will make it easier to drive a car. Until then, you're going to be out there on the street with the cars, and they are bigger than you are. So, be certain to drive your bicycle on the right with the traffic and drive in a single file. Remember, walk on the left, bike on the right.
Whether you're driving your bike or walking, be sure you go directly to or from home by the designated safe way to go. Don't walk or drive through other people's yards, in wooded areas, or unfamiliar places.
The National Safety Council says that over half of bike accidents occur at intersections, so be especially careful here. Cross with care. Get off your bike and walk it across using the crosswalks.
Maybe I'll notice my old pal Susie Parker after school waiting for a ride home. So maybe I'll be thoughtful and give her a ride home on the back of my bike.
Not smart, Jackie boy. That's the way boys and girls hurt themselves. Your bicycle was built to carry only you. While you're riding, use hand signals to let others know when you are turning or stopping. Up, like this, means you're turning right. Out, like this, means you're turning left. Down, like this, shows you're stopping or slowing down.
There are other dangers to watch out for while driving your bike. Look out for car doors opening into you, or for cars pulling out into traffic in front of you.
Watch for drain grates, soft shoulders, and other road problems. They could throw you off your bike.
So many things to think about. Maybe I just won't go to school after all. Or I could ride a bus or get in a carpool, right?
You're important, Jackie. We want you alive and healthy. Even if you're waiting for a bus, there are valuable rules to remember, like waiting on the curb or in a safety zone. Be sure the school bus driver knows if you need to cross the street after getting off the school bus. Walk about 12 feet ahead of the bus and look at the driver. If you can see him, you know you are where he can see you. Then cross the street, always looking both ways before going to the other side.
Even if the school bus lights are flashing and the stop sign is out?
Yes, always look both ways to be sure the street is safe before crossing. If you're in a carpool, get into or out of a car on the curb side. Once in the car, fasten your seatbelt. A lot of these rules are just good old common sense, Jackie. Think before you go into the street. Think before you get on your bike. Think, and don't accept a ride with a stranger.
What's wrong?
I just thought of something. I'd better go home. I haven't been home in days, I'll bet.
Where exactly is home?
Rupert Riley's rambunctious raccoon rodeo. Come visit me sometime.
We will, but how will we know you?
Can't miss me. I'm the only bear in the whole act.
Oh, that kid is stupid. Excuse me. So Richard A. Klein was Walter J. Klein's son, and I talked to him about this, and he was particularly proud of this film. Wow, I have crazy hair. Sorry. It happens. Anyways, he tried to inject a little bit of humor. He also did Big Yellow Fellow and some other ones, so they have that kind of same level of kind of goofy humor while they talk about safety. So there's Ricky Raccoon shows the way, or is it Ricky the Bear shows the way? So I show 16mm films to you. If you like what I show, you can show that by hitting like and subscribe and notify. You can share it and comment, which I very much appreciate because I know that you're out there. And also, you can buy us coffee. And coffee is a wonderful thing that stimulates my brain. Caffeine. And then you can go to avgeeks.com and see other stuff that we have. This next film is, excuse me, was shot by Julian Bryan, who traveled a lot and made travel kind of ethnographic films, and had a relationship with the Soviet Union at the time, where he could go in there whenever and just kind of show what it was like to live in the Soviet Union. And he was one of the very few people that had permission to do it and really had kind of a balanced sense of what he was showing, because everybody had this sense, at least in the United States, it was all driven by propaganda. And his view of the Soviet Union was so sympathetic that people in Congress thought that he was a communist sympathizer, and sometimes would deny him work based on that. So here is The Russian Consumer.
In 1917, Russia was an undeveloped country. Today she is, next to America, the most powerful industrial nation in the world. Industrial progress is undeniable. But what does it mean in human terms? In the old apartment houses, entire families are still crowded into one room and share a kitchen with several families. Even in modern apartments, impressive to look at from the outside, most families must live in 1 or 2 rooms. An exception is the 4-room apartment in which a factory manager and his family live. Unlike most Russians, they can afford to entertain. Their apartment is well furnished. They have a radio, a television set, and even a telephone. Economically, the communist system has been good to the factory manager. He drives to work in his own car. But filling stations are few, since only 1 family in 100 has a car. Most Russian women work, but the wife of the factory manager is free to go shopping. Since she is a member of the elite, she may visit a few luxury shops which handle imported goods. But even for her, the merchandise is expensive. A dress from France or a man's suit from Japan costs more than her family's weekly income. During his paid summer vacation, the factory manager leaves the city for a quiet month at his dacha in the country, or he may travel to the sea. The life of the Russian worker is far more typical. By American standards, his hours are not bad. His wages are low, but he enjoys many important benefits: free medical care, free education, and low-cost housing. In a low-rent apartment house built by the state, a worker and his family of 5 are crowded into 2 rooms. They are fortunate to have a kitchen of their own. When the worker leaves for the factory, he must use public transportation. A small car would cost him 4 years' labor. Buses and subways are clean, efficient, and inexpensive. The fare is equivalent to 5 cents in American money. The wife of the factory worker has a job. In addition, she must spend several hours each day shopping for food. The lines are long, and except for bread, cabbage, and potatoes, most foods are likely to be in short supply. On weekends, she visits a large government department store. Quality of the merchandise has improved in recent years. The prices remain high for the average family. Clerks are not overeager. In other stores, radios and record players are sold. They are plentiful and inexpensive. But television sets, tape recorders, and washing machines are still luxury items in the Soviet Union. A television set, for example, costs the average man 2 to 3 months' wages. Like the factory manager, the worker also receives a paid vacation. Transportation is inexpensive, and like most Russians, he loves to travel. He's likely to go to a camp in the woods or to the beach. It lacks the tranquility of the private dacha, but it has charms of its own. The Russian peasant lives in a world completely divorced from that of the factory manager and the worker. For centuries, he endured the inhumanities of the Tsarist system. Today, he endures the communist state. The peasants make up nearly 1/2 of the population. Most of them are crowded together on collective and state farms. The fruit of their labor goes mostly to the state. The peasant is independent by nature and resents working land not his own. During the Second World War, Stalin, hard-pressed by Nazi troops, allowed an increase in the individual small plot of land. Here the peasant, in his spare time, still grows his own fruits and vegetables. Summer and autumn, they harvest their small crops and take them to the nearest town to be sold at private markets. Such free enterprise is officially illegal in a communist state, but it is tolerated by the Soviet regime. Why? Because for many years, these private markets have supplied up to 1/2 of Russia's fruits and vegetables, and because their produce is superior in quality to that available in the large government markets. Prices are high. Good fruit is scarce. Even a green melon would cost the equivalent of an American dollar. A peasant woman's trip to the city may be her only vacation. After selling her flowers, fruit, and vegetables, she will probably window shop. The prices are far out of her range. A pair of pants would cost her more than 2 weeks' work. She may feel extravagant and buy them, but it is more likely that she will only look. A pathetic indulgence symbolizing the peasant's remoteness from the rest of Russian society. The Russian people have long been told that the sacrifices of today will lead to the luxuries of tomorrow. They have sacrificed long and hard, and now at last they can see the promised land. But many see it only on the horizon. The poet Boris Pasternak captured their mixture of pride and impatience, of hopefulness and melancholy, when he wrote, "Man is born to live, not to prepare for life."
So some of you pointed out in the comments how the music sounded drunk, like that is what we call wow and flutter. And so I didn't scan this film. Somebody at the Internet Archive did. I have a print of this, but I just hadn't scanned it. So I used the footage, cheated, but. So the process that they used to digitize the film, I think they ran it, because they had so much footage, they ran it at 30 or 60 frames a second and recorded the sound. But in doing so, they introduced a pretty significant wow and flutter when they did it. And so that's what you hear. And you especially hear it in music, which has a sustained... And you can just, your ears attuned to it. When somebody's talking, you don't hear it as much because talking it's not, so if somebody was singing, you would hear it. Anyways, I thought it was a fascinating film in spite of the fact that it's a but that does show up sometimes when I've projected films. I had a projector that was essentially... Since you have a gate and the film goes through and you have this claw that pulls it down in sync with a shutter that opens and closes, that is what we call intermittent motion. But then the audio is going over a optical sound head where there's an exciter bulb and there's a little sensor, and that's going through continuously. But if there's something that's messing with the tension, where the tension isn't consistent because maybe there's the take-up reel belt is loose, or there's a motor that's a gear that's not moving things through, that's where you get that sound. There was a Bell & Howell, I think 1585, that had that. It was horrible. I don't have that problem with the Ikes as much, unless the Ike is having some take-up issues. I did have an Ike that had that problem. Well, that's the AV Geeks portion of our show, where I really geek out and talk about the technology. So sorry about that. This next film is Your Guardian Angel. I think this has a slow start. Eventually it'll get to the right place. Almost there. I think this was transferred and was losing tension. There we go.
Who's supposed to be taking care of the safety of others, Harry, you don't seem to be doing such a great job when it comes to yourself. I'll have to keep a closer eye on you. What are you doing here anyway? I didn't know you went in for old junk.
Old junk? Listen, everything you see on this table represents an accident. What's more, it's all 600-volt equipment, the kind used in commercial and industrial buildings.
Well, I couldn't have picked a better time then. Harry, do you remember when you first joined our staff?
Do I? I really let myself in for something that day.
All right, Harry. Nothing's going to hurt you. Not anymore. We've got an important job for you, if you're interested.
I thought my working days were over.
Not yet. We need a troubleshooter, someone who can guard people who become involved with electricity. We think you're the man for the job. Safety is a never-ending task, Harry, and we really need someone with your experience and qualifications.
Need me? That's a laugh. I could have used them. You got yourself a man.
You can start right away. You've done such a great job. We thought we'd expand your activities to take care of the people who work around higher voltages. Well, take these accidents. I'll bet that in most of them there wasn't anything basically wrong with the equipment. After all, it's designed to be safe, or it wouldn't have the CSA seal of approval.
But equipment, like this switch box, it can become defective, and it's mechanical as well as electrical. If it's poorly maintained, it becomes worn and dangerous just that much faster. Under adverse conditions, 600 volts will arc and burn, just as this one shows. Misuse, sheer misuse. Looks like it was hit with an arc welder, nearly new, too. Do you know what ionization is?
Ionization? Oh, dear. And we covered it in training school, too.
Well, normally air is a pretty good insulator, but when a high voltage arc occurs, air ionizes. It changes its composition so that it actually conducts current. When that happens, the arc continues to burn and grow until...
There's an explosion or a fire.
Right. At least temperatures get so high that components will melt and run all over the place to cause further arcing. Or it sprays out like the blast from a shotgun.
I thought it would knock a person flying.
No, not necessarily. That's why it's got to be treated with respect.
Harry, you're really a professional. That's why you were picked for the job.
Say, do you know what a delta circuit is?
Uh-uh.
It's a three-phase circuit. And if you remember, many flashes and fires are caused by a ground fault in a three-phase circuit.
The current for an ungrounded delta or three-phase circuit is supplied from a three-phase transformer. A voltmeter connected between any phase and ground will read about 347 volts if the circuit is functioning normally. In a circuit that is functioning normally, the voltage phase to phase in this case is 600 volts. But the voltage from phase to ground, due to the capacitive effect of the conductor, is about 347 volts. Should a ground fault develop in any phase, the voltage to ground on that phase will drop to 0, and the voltage on the other two phases will rise to 600 volts. Delta or 3-wire 600-volt systems are usually used to operate motors and have different characteristics from star or 4-wire systems used for 600-volt lighting, where a grounded neutral is necessary. Often, several installations, even in separate buildings, are fed from a single 3-phase transformer over the same delta circuit. This can sometimes present a problem should a ground fault develop in one building. As illustrated in the previous diagram, the building where the fault occurs has a voltage drop to 0 on the faulty phase, while the remaining buildings experience a rise to 600 volts to ground on the phases not affected by the fault in Building D. A similar situation can develop in a single building where the service from a 3-phase transformer is used to supply a number of different departments. A ground fault in one piece of equipment will again produce 0 potential to ground in the affected phase and cause a rise to 600 volts on the other two phases throughout the entire building. The resulting strain imposed upon insulation and other equipment might, under certain conditions, lead to failure and create a second ground fault. This now means that we have a short circuit through the ground, which would undoubtedly cause a shutdown of the plant. High amperage in the system could now cause extensive damage to equipment and possible injury to operators.
Well, that's the story of 600 volts.
There's your call to action. And don't worry, Harry. You'll do all right.
Hey, wait a minute. And just what do you think you're doing with that pigtail?
My job. Any objections?
I've got plenty of objections if that's any indication of the way you do your job. Oh, you sure are asking for it. That's a 600-volt 3-phase circuit, man. You stick this 110-volt thing in there and that bulb will explode faster than you can blink. Use a voltmeter or a ground fault detector for checking the circuit. They just for decoration, or were you actually going to wear them? Ah, see you don't break all the rules. Good. Rated for 750 volts and tested in a lab last month. Now get yourself a proper voltmeter and we'll check the circuit.
Well, looks like it's nothing worse than a blown fuse. We'll take care of that in a jiffy. One of these days, maybe they'll put in circuit breakers, and I'll be able to tell right away if the circuit's open.
Now what do you think you're doing? Where's your fuse pullers?
In the box.
Well, that's a right handy place for them. You sure do ask for it. From the look of these battle scars, I'd say you've been living on borrowed time for quite a while. Say, how about slipping on those safety glasses? Now you look like you're in pretty good shape. Say, don't forget.
Stand aside and turn your face away when you throw the switch on, just in case there's a flash when the circuit picks up the motor starting mode.
Haven't you forgotten something? I said, haven't you forgotten something? No? Aren't you supposed to check for ground faults before you go ahead with the job?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess I forgot.
Well, everything looks pretty normal? Yeah, without testing. I'll show you something else that isn't normal right off the bat. This blanket looks like it was left out in the sun, folded up, instead of rolled in a protective container. Ozone has caused it to deteriorate.
Oh, come on. Those little cracks shouldn't make all that much difference.
You're darn right they make all that much difference. High voltage electricity can penetrate even a pinhole, so every crack in this blanket means that much less protection. Get yourself another blanket, one that's in good shape and been tested recently, and a voltmeter.
Well, I guess I'm ready to make my tests.
Hey, wait a minute.
What the heck is it now?
Let me see that voltmeter. Now, that's okay. You'd be surprised how many people take chances by using the wrong tools and equipment. What about your eye protection?
That's the one. Switch is around the corner.
Which one?
Circuit 21.
Right. Hold it. Hold it there.
What's the matter?
That switch you opened back there is for a 600-volt lighting circuit.
600? I thought everything in here was 110.
Now, that's the kind of thinking that can get you into trouble. You should always take the right precautions. Make sure you know the voltage as well as the circuit. See? 600 volts. That's not the kind of system to second guess.
Yeah, you're right. I should have checked it myself.
Someone thought enough of you to identify and label all the circuits.
The company's only been here a few months. I really don't even know my way around yet.
Man, it only takes a fraction of a second for someone to get hurt. Now, all the boxes are clearly marked, and it only takes a second to check. Hey, look at this.
Never mind about that. Get me some rubber gloves.
I'll never get used to traveling this way.
Welcome back, Harry. You've had a busy day.
You look like you've had the day off.
Not at all. I had to keep an eye on you.
Oh, how'd I do?
Pretty good, Harry. You know, this equipment was all designed to be safe as long as it was treated in the correct manner.
Right. If it's CSA approved, it's safe when you follow the correct procedure.
Well, 600-volt circuits aren't to be fooled with. Check thoroughly whenever a piece of electrical equipment fails to function before you attempt any repairs.
That's right. Now you're learning. If it's a ground fault and you can't locate the fault in your own building, ask the power utility to check other buildings on the same circuit. Come over here. Follow a preventive maintenance schedule to ensure that your personal equipment is always in top-notch condition.
And regular testing should be done by a qualified laboratory.
Always air check your gloves every time you use them.
And always use the personal safety equipment designed for 600-volt work.
Use the right tool for the job. Makeshift and shortcuts are a good way to...
Join our little group, Harry.
And don't be in a hurry. We won't have a vacancy for a long, long time.
And don't forget.
Tell the people you work with not to fool around with 600-volt equipment. Let the professionals who know how to handle it take care of the problems.
Well, Harry, you've done such a good job, I'm going to let you buy me a heavenly cup of coffee.
So that was Canadian, but they still have ground fault circuit issues there as well. Hey, thanks, Rick, for the coffee. You can donate some coffee to keep us alert and perk, so that we will look at the circuit box to see what the actual voltage line is. I have quite a few electrical safety films. That's the only one that involves a guardian angel and ghosts. And I think I feel like this has a sequel. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can dig that up. Anyways, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in this week. Very much appreciate your comments and your eyeballs and your attention. And everybody have a good weekend. We'll be back next week. I am debating... I probably will not have a live show on Christmas Day, but I might have something prepared for you that will be a treat, but maybe not a treat. Maybe actually it will be the opposite of a treat. Maybe it'll be some sort of harsh punishment. We'll see how that goes. But like I said, everybody have a good weekend, and I will be back on Monday. So we will see you next time. Please take care of yourself and take care of the people around you. If you can, sneak in a hug somewhere safely. You know, if there's someone in your life that you have been bubbling with, give them a hug. My wife and I, we hug other people through each other. So we're surrogate huggers for friends and family that we can't be close to. So, and it counts. It works. So love each other, and please rewind. And we will see you again next week. Take care.